morning. Is everybody awake yet? Yes, we are. Woohoo, lots of coffee? Yes. So I did catch a little bit of the panel before us. So I think this is actually going to tie in perfectly. But I would just love to get a little read of the room. Like, how many educators do we have? Healthcare workers? Great. I am talking to the right people. So I wanted to start. Do I have the slides or no? Or I don't need them. I can do it without them. Okay, just kidding. I can do it without them. Rest. That's where we're going to start. I can do it without them. Don't worry about it at all. So when I came up with this talk, the power of rest, discipline, a little bit of faith, my assistant died laughing in her chair. She's like, "You're going to talk about rest?" I said, I actually am. I said, because it's one of the things that we don't get enough of. In this high stakes kind of environment that we're in education and in healthcare, rest often feels like a luxury, like we don't deserve it. We're always go, 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 but we never take the time to actually slow down. However, I'm here to tell you and to give you kind of permission to say that rest is not a luxury. I actually had some statistics up here on my slides to show you kind of what it looks like whenever you go from sleeping from 4 to 5 hours per night to actually sleeping 7 to 8. And I think applicable to us, that's also applicable to children because they will need more sleep than we do as adults because they're still growing and learning. I recently started reading this book called Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life. And it talks about the Ayurvedic physician, Dr. Kashagar, and how you need to follow kind of your circadian rhythm. Right? The sun goes down at a certain hour, sun gets up at a certain hour, and if we follow where the sun's going down and the sun's coming up, we actually get better sleep. Has anybody ever noticed that you kind of get better sleep if you sleep maybe 10 to 6 versus like 12 to 8? It's a big difference in your body and how you change it. And do we have any parents in the audience? Woo, yeah, whoop, whoop. So I recently joined the club. Thank you. And let me tell you, it was a change that I was not anticipating. When they always said, enjoy your sleep now because you won't get any, I really didn't take that seriously, right? I was like, because you get the old thing, you sleep when the baby sleeps, right? I'm like, oh, yeah, great. But they don't tell you when the baby's sleeping, you still need to do the laundry. Somebody needs to cook. Somebody's got to go to the store. And then we had a whole different story that I won't get into because my son was born in 2020. Boop, boop. So a totally different experience. But I go back to the fact that if we help to regulate our systems, if we help to get on a better path and kind of going from, because I didn't know where to start with rest, right? You hear get 8 hours of sleep. But then once I learned that 10 to 6 is not the same as 12 to 8, and then it made a big difference in my schedule, life started getting better. I was able to plan better. I was able to kind of come in and not be super mom, but definitely have more energy than I did maybe the week or two before. So I encourage everyone, children included, that if we are going to start somewhere, rest is where we need to start. I believe in a strong foundation. I believe I heard this young lady over here speak about this earlier. I definitely say start with your rest. If things are not going right, if things are foggy, 9 times out of 10, I feel like I am not a doctor, by the way, but so many things could be regulated by just rest. Moving on. Discipline. How many people characterize discipline as habit? Is that a good way to kind of think of discipline? Habit. When I was growing up, my dad made us make the bed every single morning. I had no idea why, because I was going to go right back home and get right back in it. I was like, why are we making the bed every morning? It doesn't make any sense to me. And I fought it, and I didn't like it, but I respected my dad, so I got up and I did the bed every single day. Not realizing subconsciously he's teaching me discipline. He's teaching that even if you don't want to do it, or even if you don't feel like doing it, the power of that habit, the power of that discipline will take you further than just kind of, sometimes, I'm not even going to say education because we're not going to sleep on that, but the power of the habit, the power of doing the same thing every day, the power of showing up, the power of being on time. When we make these little bitty changes, these little bitty habits in our lives, it makes a huge difference. And because that gets to that rest, right? If I make it a habit of going to bed every day by 10:30, I'm shutting off the phone, I'm shutting off the TV, then I'm going to get better at that, right? And I'm going to get more rest. More rest means I'm more productive, means I'm a better partner, a better spouse, a better child, in the case that we were talking about earlier. Discipline, it expands in more than just your professional life. What if we expanded discipline into your personal life, right? How am I showing up for my spouse? How am I being a accountability partner? How am I protecting someone's mental health? How am I staying committed to my own growth, both professionally and personally? So discipline can actually, in my humble opinion, carry you further than just your basic education. Does that make sense? Great. I love interaction, so please feel free to nod a head. You know, if we want to raise a hand, I'll take that too. And think about discipline. I look at it as like a muscle. The more I use it, the stronger it gets. Because guess what? I don't always want to get up every day at 6 o'clock. I don't. My family's sleeping. It looks so peaceful. But when I get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I get a yoga session in or something to start the day, it helps get my day right. I also want to talk about, with discipline, because I think they kind of go together, resiliency. How many of us have had to make a pivot in life? Hello? Resiliency. I don't think that can be taught enough, right, and early enough, because life is going to throw curveballs left and right. How are we going to deal with it? What are the boundaries that we're going to put into place to help us deal with that whenever it does happen? Because believe me, it will happen. And let me just kind of back up. Resiliency, which I don't think I need to define it for this room, but resiliency is the ability to kind of bounce back from adversity, right? What happens when life gives me lemonades? I think about the story you just told me earlier about you saw a problem in the school system. You're like, hey, I created a school. Like, what bravery is that, right? The fact that you took on that and said, you know what, I'm actually going to do that. I'm actually going to start a school because I see a gap. I see a need for something. So the interplay of faith and resiliency. A little bit of faith. And I don't necessarily mean that religiously, right? Just the faith in oneself. And just a little bit of faith. Because sometimes, I don't know if anybody's ever suffered from imposter syndrome. Haha, that's a joke. I'm sure we've all faced it at some point in our life, right? So whenever we've faced an imposter syndrome or something that's, deeply affecting us, what kind of got us out of that? Was it believing in yourself and thinking, you know what, I can do this. I can start this school. I can start this business. I can do this job. Anybody ever got a job and they got on the first day and they were like, what the heck am I doing? What am I doing? Yes. I think that might be more than half the people in the room. Even if you don't want to admit it, it's fine. But whenever, or not necessarily a job, whenever you've gotten yourself into a situation where you were like, I am not qualified to do this, or you think I'm underqualified to do this. But what if you flip that mindset? What if you said, well, what if I am qualified? What if I can do it? What's the worst that could happen, right? I think faith and resilience, and faith in oneself is what I'm talking about, is deeply interconnected. Faith fuels the resilience by giving us hope and confidence to keep going. Resilience, in turn, strengthens our faith by proving to us that we are capable of overcoming challenges. Together, I think they create a powerful cycle that enables us to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and determination. I want to make sure we have time for questions. And again, I am not a doctor, so if you ask me anything technical about rest, I don't know. I just know that deeply and personally in my life, if you change that mindset and then just trying to juggle everything, right? I'm trying to juggle a job. I'm trying to juggle being a spouse. I'm trying to juggle being a parent. Where do I even fit rest into my life? But having the courage to actually take that step to say, if I actually do this, I will become a better person. As we move forward in our personal and professional journeys, I want you to remember that the power of faith and resilience, let it cultivate your faith in your abilities, your decisions, and your dreams. Let it build your resilience through every challenge you face, that each experience that you go through will make you stronger. I want to back up. I want to back up to resilience. How many people out here are in leadership positions? Oh, yeah, that's all the look at there. Congratulations. Yes, someone saw faith in you enough to think, you know what, this person can lead a team. This person can lead a business. Yes, or maybe you created it yourself because you saw that there was an actual deficit in the industry that you were in. Resilience, I think, is one of the biggest things that in management, I don't even know if people put that on the interview question sheet. But if you've ever been in some type of management position or some type of leadership position, there's always another level that sometimes gives you stomping orders that you agree with, and sometimes you don't. And then what do you do whenever you get into that position, right? What happens when you need to lay off a team? What happens when you need to deliver some bad news? And I really wanted to just address the leaders in the room because I think there is not enough support systems for us whenever we have to go through those things and the mental and physical toll that it actually takes on you. And so what I wanted to kind of reiterate is that, one, you're not alone. You're not alone. And in this world that we have to deal with, where we're coming with charging orders that, like I said, we may not necessarily agree with or even understand at the point, your resilience is what's going to keep you and your team above water. And what I mean by that is I had the same thing happen, right? I was in charge of a team. I had to do a massive layoff. Well, what do we do in that, right? Because in that moment, you may only be thinking about yourself. But in that moment, you also may be thinking about your team. Because not only is this a team, but these are people. They have families. They have lives. They have people that are depending on them. And I want you to know that even in your darkest hour, that resiliency, that discipline, that same habit of doing the same thing over and over and over again will save you. In that moment, for my personal decision, I had to network. All of the conferences that I had attended, all of the business cards I had exchanged, all of the LinkedIn requests that I had accepted, it was time to go to work. It was time for me to place my team somewhere else. And that's what we did. We had a session. We said, you know what, we're not going to work today. We're going to sit down. We're going to do resume reviews of everybody in here. We're going to work with our peers. I look at yours, you look at mine. Who do you know? Who do you know? And how do we find what your next step is going to be? And I'm happy to report that in about 30 days, everybody was gainfully employed. So I just come to you today to say that there is power in rest. There is power in discipline, resilience, and just a little bit of faith in yourself. I open the floor for questions, comments, advice, high fives. Awesome. Good job, good job. Any personal stories you want to share? Sure, absolutely. So my name is Crystal Foushee. I am from a little town called Siler City, North Carolina. I grew up on a farm. Imagine that. I grew up on a farm. Two parents, was always taught and instilled in me that, you go to school, you get a good job, you stay there for 40 years, and you retire. So in my world, that's what I thought was going to happen, right? So grew up, went to school, um, undergrad and law school, got my first big girl job, stayed in there 5 years and had a restructure, and then had a decision to make. And so then that led me to creating my company that I have now. So I do consulting work called C&D Consulting, where I work in the pharmaceutical world. So I actually construct the contract for when a pharmaceutical company is getting ready to test their drug, kind of first in human. So I draft the contract between the pharmaceutical company and the hospital where they're going to actually run the trial. And so that's kind of what got me started in this industry. I was very green-eyed. I had the legal perspective of what was going on, but I had no idea what clinical research was. I had no idea what a CRO was. And so I had to learn. And so from there, fast forward, it was great that it worked for me, but then I thought, well, what can I do for somebody else that wants to get in the industry? How do I give back? How do I get people involved? And so then I started an online training program. That's kind of how I'm here today and kind of how it relates to the Hill Conference. And it's generally, I would say, geared toward, I would say, either newer attorneys or someone with a legal background that's wanting to get into negotiating clinical contracts. At the time, it didn't feel that way. At the time, it didn't feel like resilience at all. At the time, I just was like, what am I going to do? But yes, now that I'm on the other side of it, I can say it was resilience. It was the discipline. It was just to kind of keep going. And that really was what it was. And for me, it was my team is what was driving me, right? I am very much, I don't know, I don't do well in leadership because when I'm a leader, I'm a leader. I brought you in, I'm responsible for you, I told you about this job, and now all of a sudden I gotta lay you off. Oh Lord, you talk about the sweat coming. So then I was like, you know what? We're actually gonna have a session where we're gonna read resumes, we're gonna talk to each other, we're gonna network. So yes, so now I can define it as resilience, but at the time it was literally just putting one foot in front of the other. Yes.
I think it's important for us as educators to actually model the resilience
Yes.
for our students and not just say like, I was resilient there, but actually talk about what we're feeling and what we're going through.
Yes.
Because those thoughts are the thoughts that our students are having when they're
Yes.
running into those roadblocks.
Yes.
So how can we model that more? I think that's just what we need to focus on and
Yeah.
build resilience within our students.
Yeah, when I think back, I don't recall one teacher ever saying, hey guys, I'm having a bad day. Or, hey guys, something bad just happened. My house burned down. Or something like that. I don't recall them ever saying anything. It was like they had this picture perfect life. And so in my mind, as an adult, as a kid, I'm thinking that's what I model in my adult life. But as adults, we're messy. We don't have it together. We're just surviving from day to day a lot of times. And so I think whenever we create that, I think that's a very, very good comment. When you create that, I don't want to say inhumanness, but you create this like, I must be this way every single day. I can't have a bad day. I can't do this because kids are like that. They're going to have good days and bad days, just like grown-ups, just like adults. I think that's highly important. Very good comment. Yes, let's be real with the kids. Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Human connection. Mhm. Mhm. Yes. 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 Yes, ma'am. Mhm. 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 Well, my first question to that would be, and caveat, I'm not a teacher. Do you have the support system to even make that possible? Can you even dial into your students? Like, what I mean by that is, is it overcrowded? Can you actually dive into what your student is feeling at the time? Do you have the time to do that? Plus the pressures of integrate testing and everything that comes with it. Like, do you even have the support system to make that happen? Right. Right. Mhm. 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 Wonderful question. Wonderful question. I can say I don't know the answer. My guess would be probably not. Yes. Oh, it's a topic for tomorrow. Wonderful. Wonderful. I got one right here, and then we'll get right to you. Hmm. Right. Right. See, I did have them. Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. These ladies in the front. Yeah, can we get a mic for her? She's so nice with her soft voice.
My comment is on the capacity for teachers. Throughout my whole undergrad and master's career, something that truly helped was when a educator or a teacher supported the students' efforts. So there are a lot of students who are organizing, doing community building, and putting in a lot of work and effort into doing that. And if you don't necessarily have the capacity to make that change, because that is a lot for just one teacher or a few teachers to be always trying to make a change, there are a lot of students who are trying to make big changes like that. So it goes a long way to, you know, if they draft a bill and they're trying to push for something in student government, for you to sign on to it. If they're having a meeting or they have an event or they're trying to start a project and to show up to their events, that went a very long way for me. And that kind of support, you're still making a change through someone else's efforts and through your own efforts by supporting them. So there's just so many ways to show up for your students and to build that resiliency. And it's about empowering them and making them feel like they can use their own agency to make a change. And you're making a change by helping them make a change. So there's just so many ways that we can build community and make a change.
I just want to say something about resilience because it's very important. And I would like to see more of positivity classes. Like, you know, I actually do CEs for the nurses just about positive, just being positive. You say this word, how simple it is, but it goes like way, way far. So I think teaching people how to be positive and think positive, even if it's a very bad situation, just look at any little thing that positive in anything and grab on it. That helps to make you more, you know, powerful and keep going as well. But I love what you're doing.
Yeah, my grandmother used to say it costs nothing to be nice to people, right? Or even flash a smile, because everybody's going through something. Whether or not they say it or not, everybody's going through something, or they're getting ready to go through something. And she was like, it costs absolutely nothing just to be nice to people.
I also wanted to say I love to get things down to their tiny little bits. So when you were first talking about resiliency, and the gentleman, he's gone outside now, but thinking about what teachers can do, I love words. I love to go to their etymology. And if we look at resilience, it means to jump back, to recoil. So when my kids were little, and I had a son who was RAD and ADHD and had an IAP that thick, and one of the skills that he got was to take the breath, take the deep breath, and they would take the breath together as the class, 3 deep breaths. That takes us, each of us, when we do that, it takes us back into ourselves. And to me, that's the recoil. That's the jump back. Find yourself again. Now, whatever's happening out there, I got a chance. I can navigate, right? And so I so appreciated that from his educators. And then also the tapping. The tapping really, really helped to just, again, it gets us back into our body, gets us to our frontal lobe, and you can have a lot more resource. So thank you for bringing this forward today.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, quick note, we have a rule in our family. You get 5 minutes to just kind of lose it, right? If you're going through something, you get 5 minutes to shout, yell, curse, whatever it is you need to do. You got 5 minutes to get it all out. And then after that 5 minutes, then we're talking about what we're going to do next. What's our next steps? How are we going to either fix it, or did you just need to shout? But yeah, we have a 5-minute rule in my family. Yes, sir.
Quick question. I wanted to go back to the early part of the presentation we were talking about. Thank you.
Gracefully in heels.
Yeah, appreciate that. I just wanted to go back to the early part of your presentation when you were speaking about rest, and I was just curious about how you define rest.
Sleep.
Sleep. Okay. All right.
Actual sleep. I was referencing a book, and in it he's literally talking about sleep, because some people rest by watching TV or mindlessly flipping through your phone, but I'm actually talking about actual sleep. Like your eyes are closed, you are asleep from 10 to 6, and just making sure that you're taking that discipline to actually get the amount of rest in, because we can all lay down at 10 and look at our phone to 12,
Right.
or answer emails, or what are we doing for lunch next week, or what's for dinner tomorrow. We can all do that, but I'm literally talking about sleep.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Might you be talking about Fear and Tears book outlet?
No, it's actually called, they took it back down. You highly recommend it? No, it's called Change Your Schedule, Change Your Life by Dr. Foushee. I don't want to mispronounce his last name. I think it's Kruzager, Kshis, Kshirsagar. There's actually a picture of the book on my slides. See, I was going to do that because I knew I was going to, There it is, right there. Yeah. And he was basically saying, it's not you, it's your schedule. So you think things are going wrong in your life, it's not you, it's your schedule. And if you actually just get your schedule on target, how everything else will change in your life. And he even goes into, you know, when do you need to eat? What do you need to eat? What type of body type you have for your exercise? Because where somebody might like powerlifting and that works for their body, you might just need to walk, right? That might be all you need to do. And he really breaks down how you can just, you're getting to better sleep, which in turn goes to exercise and just having that mind clarity. Okay, thank you. I was about to say, I'm over, I'm so sorry.